Hello and welcome to Mystic Visions. This is a daily pick a card reading for December 23rd, which is Wednesday. And the purpose of this reading is to give you a brief piece of advice or to help guide your overall focus for the day. If you are looking for a longer, more detailed reading, please check out my channel. If you are new to pick a card readings, the way this works is that you will choose one of the three piles here and then click on the timestamp in the description to skip ahead to the reading you've selected. Now, if you do feel compelled to choose more than one card, that's fine. Please follow your intuition. There's probably some good advice in each of these readings, so one pile just may be a little more accurate than the others. I have added 3 crystals to help you in your selection. And what I have today is Fluorite for deck 1. This is Onyx in deck 2. And Pyrite in deck 3. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds of silence so that you can meditate on your choice if you wish. And then once you have your choice in mind, go ahead and find the timestamp for your choice in the description below. So let's go ahead and start the 30 seconds right now. Okay, so if you have not already done so, please go ahead and make your selection and then scroll down to the description to find the timestamp to skip ahead in the video to see your particular reading. So we're going to go ahead and start with deck number 1, the Fluorite. If you chose the Fluorite, you are going to have the Tower. Okay, and the Knight of Pentacles, and then Justice, but in the reverse here. Okay, so the Tower is all about institutions. So institutions are essentially like inventions of society, right? So, banks, government, schools, churches, marriage even, or friendships. All of these things can definitely be represented by the Tower. And the idea behind the Tower here is that all these things are temporary, they will pass away, and that the more you sort of hang your happiness on these institutions, the greater the chance is that when it comes crashing down, inevitably, you'll be kind of caught in it, and you'll come crashing down with it. So the idea here is there's like a big upheaval or a change that is either in the process of happening or is about to. And there may be a tendency for you to sort of cling to that a little bit, cling to that thing that's sort of falling apart instead of letting it go. But the important thing for you to do here is to recognize the temporary nature of this whole situation or this thing that you've been clinging to, and to let go, to sort of jump, to get out of the way before it comes down with you inside it too. Now, crossing you is this Knight of Pentacles energy. So that's a very determined, it can be a stubborn energy at times. But this is like trying to get something that you want, but, being unrelenting in it and having a little bit of a stubborn attitude. It can also be a little bit less tempered, so there could be a tendency to maybe rush things a little bit, make some mistakes. But also just there's this stubbornness, there's this clinging to an idea or something like that. So you may be, not willing to just let things pass on, to let them fall down when they want to. You may be trying to, you might have enveloped your own feelings of self-worth or success up in this, so you're not letting it fall for the same reason you wouldn't let yourself fall. You see it as a reflection of yourself. So you want to, distance yourself from this thing, recognize that things have a lifespan, that things are somewhat destined to come crashing down at some point or another, and it's just inevitable. So the best that you can do is foresee it and kind of get out of the way, right? So your advice card here, this justice in the reverse, I think what this is saying is you may think that you have this sort of figured out logically. You may think that you have a sort of handle on the situation, that things are going to happen the way they should, or that there's some sort of justice in it, right? There's some kind of karmic process that is playing out. But in the reverse here, there's a little bit of a mistake there. Things are playing out, but you're kind of fighting that justice. You're kind of fighting out the natural way of things. So it could be, if you're seeing some sort of an institution fail and you think it ought not to, there might be some things that you're unaware of that this institution has been doing that have caused it to fail. There may be a little bit more there than meets the eye. So you might have this idea that it's supposed to be a certain kind of way, but you might not realize that there's been some secretive dealings under the table which have kind of sealed the fate of this institution that you're grappling with here. So yeah, I would say that be careful because justice is sort of cold and will not take people's intentions or feelings into account so much as it will, whatever can happen will happen. There's this sort of, you get what you pay for, essentially. That type of an energy here where whatever is deserved will occur. So be careful not to throw your weight behind something that is not worthy or that you haven't properly vetted. It's kind of wise not to vouch for anyone unless you kind of have to, unless it's like your own family or whatnot, and then it's a little more understandable. But in some way or another, you're going to want to kind of not let this thing come crashing down around you, because there's definitely a possibility that kind of thing can happen in this situation. Okay, so that's about it for card number 1. Let's see what we have for the next card. So card number 2, if you chose Onyx, this is a reading for you. So you have the 10 of Swords in the reverse, the Devil, and the 6 of Wands in the reverse. Okay, well that certainly makes sense. All right. So your 10 of Swords in the reverse, this can be a little bit of a negative attitude, or kind of seeing things as falling apart or not working out correctly. And to be honest with you, there may have been some difficulties here, but there is a possibility for a more positive outlook here that you're just kind of not pursuing. You're in a little bit more of a cynical spot with this kind of energy, or feeling like it's just not going to happen, not going to work out, it's not going to be good. And it's not necessarily the case. So you're just resistant to kind of finding that silver lining in this situation, and moving on with a little bit more of a positive attitude. Now, That makes a lot of sense because you have this devil challenging you. So this is kind of, the devil represents that sort of darker side of you. It makes things interesting. So the devil is it has its place, or he has his place, right? There's a reason for his existence within your life, and the problem is when you don't rise above it, when you get trapped by it, when you get controlled by it. Because what it's meant to be is sort of like something that provokes you or prods you to grow, to develop, to challenge you, right? It's kind of like you think of like good cop, bad cop, that kind of thing. There's a role in the more negative side of things. My favorite author once described the devil as, if you look at the court of heaven, it's like a courtroom, right? And you are the defendant, and you are being charged with a crime, and your defense, they would say, is Jesus. He is the one, and you don't have to be religious to kind of get this metaphor. But your defense would be Jesus, the one who is your advocate, and he's appealing to the judge and everything, who I guess in this situation would be God, right? But now the devil, his role is to be the district attorney, and it's his job to try to make the case that you don't deserve grace, right? That you don't deserve forgiveness. So he sees the negative side of things. It's his job, right? But what you don't necessarily realize is that your tax money pays for the district attorney for his salary. So it's kind of your darker nature which facilitates this entire process playing out of this accuser. Satan means accuser. So there's this darker side of things that is meant to sort of propel you forward. And the time where it gets out of control or it becomes a negative is when you allow yourself to fall into these cycles and to sort of give up and give in to that lower nature instead of rising above it and using it as an opportunity for growth, right? And you don't want to be controlled by that. It's seated in your desires, right? So desires have a place, but you don't want to be ruled by your desires, right? They make a good servant, but a poor master. So does the ego. And you could see the devil as sort of that ego side, the egoic side of you. And so the objective here is to sort of control your thoughts and make them work for you rather than you working for them. And your advice card here is the Six of Wands in the reverse. So the Six of Wands is normally, in the upright position, it's a victorious card. It has a lot of success and energy or overcoming some challenge or obstacle, that kind of thing. But in the reverse here, it's really more of like self-doubt. It's feeling like you're not enough, that you haven't done enough, that things are not going to work out right. And so, I think that's where this whole devil energy is sourced, is in this sort of negative self-talk. I think in yesterday's reading, I talked about how, or in one of the decks for yesterday's reading, I talked about how in our society we've kind of engendered this attitude where if you're not doing anything, if you're not accomplishing anything, you feel negatively about yourself instead of neutral, which is kind of weird if you think about it. You should have like this general attitude of, well, if you're not doing anything, it should have like a neutral attitude. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you're not doing anything. At least you're not doing bad things, right? And that's what would make you feel bad about yourself. But in our society, there's this premium that is put on productivity. So if you're not doing anything or not accomplishing much, you tend to see yourself as negative, in a negative light. And so that's kind of the first step to getting out of this type of self-talk, this negativity, is to realizing that it's okay that you don't have a lot of accomplishments under your belt. It's even okay if you've done some bad things, because if you look over the course of your life, you've done a lot of good things too. So if you're going to get into judging yourself, then at least be fair about it and don't get too cynical about it, because that can feed your cynical attitude about the entire world, that nothing's going to work out right because people suck, right? I suck, so of course other people suck, and everybody sucks, and the world sucks. Yeah, so don't get into that kind of a cycle. You want to get into more of a being kind to yourself and thinking, yeah, it didn't necessarily go the way I wanted it to, but it could have gone a lot worse, and I kind of did the best I could with what I knew at the time. Give yourself some better self-talk and watch your relationship with the world around you improve. Kind of think about how you approach reality like a relationship or a friendship. If you're always really cynical and down about the way things are, then the way things are will be a little bit down about you. So if you can improve your relationship with the universe itself, with existence itself, then you'll find that existence itself will treat you better. And difficult thing for some people to realize, because we kind of go around imagining that reality or existence is sort of this lifeless thing, and you're just something that's alive in it. But reality itself is alive and has somewhat of like almost a personality of its own, or if not a personality, it reacts to you. It dances with you, we'll put it that way. So definitely figure out a way to inject a little positive self-talk into your life here. So that's about it for card number 2. So, pretty interesting kind of psychedelic reading there. So we're going to go ahead and move on to card number 3. Now, if you chose the Pyrite for card number 3, this is your reading. So, here's the Page of Pentacles, the Lovers in the reverse, and the Knight of Cups. Okay. Wow. Some emotions here. All right. So, the Page of Pentacles is, it's a very childlike energy that's optimistic about doing things, about having a particular kind of career, or wanting to accomplish something, having a project in mind, or just this kind of optimistic energy about how things could turn out in the future. It's not tempered by a ton of hardship yet. There hasn't been a whole lot of work go into this. It's really just more of that kind of not daydreamy so much, because there is a tendency to put a tremendous amount of action into this whenever possible. But it's just a little bit of an immature stage in this point, where you think something good could come, and specifically in the physical realm. Not necessarily, coins tend to deal with money a little bit, but it's not just money. It also more broadly just refers to the physical. So there's this, opportunity within the physical realm, or with a project or something like that, to achieve some future sense of success or satisfaction. That's a lot of S's. But this is something that has to go through a significant series of challenges to mature it, or to manifest it, right? Challenging you or crossing you is this Lovers card in the reverse. Okay, so Lovers is all about making a choice. It's not so much about like a soulmate connection or something like that, where you're just drawn like a moth to flame to your partner. On the contrary, it is a recognition that true love is not really conscious if there is not a conscious choice made for it to be, right? So true love is about constantly making a decision, even when you don't necessarily feel like it. You honor this sort of commitment to somebody else that is sourced in love, and that kind of love has to be strong enough to transcend the sort of daily weather in the relationship that can sometimes not be so much fun. And in the reverse here, you may be sort of resisting this idea. Now, I want to say lovers doesn't necessarily refer to another person, like a romantic relationship. Yes, it often does, and it may in this situation for you, but it may also just be talking about your relationship with, for example, this project that the page is entertaining or thinking about. It may be something to that nature, where you have to make this choice. If you really enjoy doing something, you can't. A lot of times we hate working. We hate feeling like we're slaving away at some job that we don't really care about. But when we have an opportunity to do something we do like, which we treat more as a hobby, we tend to put it down the second that we don't enjoy it. Well, you don't put work down the second you don't enjoy it. You keep pushing yourself through, and you're kind of forced to. Your boss makes you do that. So remember that and carry that energy into some of the things that you enjoy doing a little bit more, and kind of see how that works out for you. Because if you are able to sort of push yourself to do the things that that you usually want to do, you're able to have a little bit more success at them instead of just like falling apart the second it doesn't work out the way you want, right? So that's another possible interpretation of this lovers in the reverse. Now, it very well could refer to a more of a relationship type of thing where you may be expecting for things to be a little bit more effortless than they are, instead of just realizing that it's never perfect. It's never going to be exactly what you want. There's always going to be difficulties, right? And at the same time, you may be thinking that you don't want to compromise, and that's a wise position to make as well. But some compromise is necessary. So in other words, you don't want to compromise on your happiness. If something is if truly not serving you or not making you happy, then don't compromise with yourself. But you often will have to compromise with others. There's always going to be tiny gives and takes that occur in any healthy relationship. So prepare to meet that energy if you are pursuing a romantic relationship with this energy. The advice card for you is the Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups is one of the more romantic figures in the deck, which is pretty interesting because you have the Lovers and the Knight of Cups, which are two of them that are very associated with romance. So it could very well be that this Lovers card does refer to kind of more of a personal thing. And the Knight of Cups is a little bit more of a go with the flow type character. So he's not really nitpicky about things. He's kind of more he's got a looser grip on reality, on life, and he's more about enjoying himself and having a good time. He's focused on having a good time instead of focused on the things that he doesn't like, or that kind of thing. So he's not a nagger, or anything like that. He's just he's relaxed. He's a little bit more, type B. So this is your advice. So it's, take a little bit of a chill pill with things, and realize that it doesn't have to all be perfect. It doesn't have to, not everything has to fit into place exactly the way that you envision it, but there's still some potential for you to have some emotional fulfillment in this situation. Also, take a step back from ideas of like finality or eternity or things like that. Try not to approach this situation so much as like a destination, but see kind of where it goes just as a more of a drama. Kind of fall in love a little bit more with the dramatic side of things. And maybe you've been through some drama in the past and you're kind of over that or sick of it, but at some point you've got to recognize that that's kind of what the whole thing is about. There is kind of this drama to life in general, or to social life in general, and it's not so much about getting away from the drama, but it's being involved in drama that actually is enjoyable. You know what I mean? So and that's very off-putting to a lot of people. I know that, but otherwise you kind of end up a little bit, I think, alone and or lonely and unfulfilled if you can't learn to feel some sort of interest or happiness in the sort of mundane drama of life. So that's about it. This one's run pretty long. So this is about it for the third card here. Thank you all for watching. Please leave questions and comments if you have them. And I will see you guys tomorrow for your next daily reading.